Okay, so again, layout. Use or create the following 6 types of partitions. So the first thing we will do is create them. There's a couple ways you can do it very simply. I recommend going to the 5th floor. You probably have named this properly. And just remember always to save as every step so you don't lose your past work. Okay. If we're in the 5th floor, we're going to concentrate on the lab, and then we're going to do a couple of elements in the gym. So I think the lab is what's going to require most of your work for this week at least. You could create several like partitions here. Just duplicate them so you have them all together. So the digital wall, 2-hour rating. We're going to start with the interior 6 and a 1/8 partition, 2 hours. So what we're going to do is a wall architecture, and I'm going to search for that option. The 2-hour rating here is 6 and 1/8. So I can just draw it here very small, escape. And I can even go to find level and TL for details, so you can have them there. Let's duplicate it. So I edit this type, duplicate it, and I'm just going to name it as building tech 3, for example. But you can name it as laboratory, or as long as it's clear type of partition it is. Okay. So next is going to be another wall. In this case, we're going to go to the 5.5 partition, 1-hour rating. I'm going to create another partition there. Select, edit the type to duplicate it into again a building tech 3, for example, so you know this is the one you're dealing with. Okay. And next we're going to do a one-sided wallboard gypsum board. So we're going to go here, and I'm going to start with this one. Why not copy it down here? Select, edit the type, duplicate, and let's rename it as interior, put a partition, one side, for example. And you probably want to, let me see, okay, you want to rename it and get rid of that dimension because it's not the correct one. Say okay. Now we go to edit, preview. You can even go to section to see it nicely. And we just want gypsum board in one of the sides, so you can just select this ones and delete, so you have a very simple one-sided. You could have selected the opposite one and deleted and have 2 gypsum boards in one of the sides. Say okay, okay, and there we have another type. Shaft and chase wall. What I'm going to do is just rename them when I duplicate them. So actually that won't be the one. Let's take this one. Edit type, duplicate, and let's say shaft. Edit type, duplicate, chase. Now the chase normally is like a double wall, so you could actually edit a little bit the chase one and just create like a new space, insert here. Let's call it like air layer or something, and make it very big, almost like, I don't know, 5 inches. Comes like that, and then you can have another structure. Just insert the structure, metal stud layer like that one. So you can go to the materials, search for metal stud layer, say okay, and it's going to be the same dimension, so you can copy and paste that one there. So you have that middle space. You can even make it a bit bigger depending on what is necessary. There you go. Finished. You could have 2 gypsum boards in one side or just one in the other one. So so this is where the piping will start happening in your chase wall. Say okay, okay, and that's a particular partition that is not that common, but that would be your chase wall that would be normally associated to the bathrooms and whatever you have, the pipings, etc. So here's how it could work. Let me get rid of the underlay. For some reason I have it there. Say none. What you could have is this as example or partitions, but don't forget to delete them at the end of the process. What you could do is, like we did with trusses, select one of the partitions, check what it is, and then just right click and say create similar, and start drawing your partition here. So it's actually very convenient to have them there, but just remember to delete them afterwards. So I'm going to start with my one-sided partition, right click, create similar. And what I recommend here is that you start from a column. It's going to give you basic dimensions that you can start spreading around the whole layout. So I'm going to go to a column, let's say rectangle, and I'm saying offset of 1 inch, not that it's here, but it's in red, and finished face interior. So offset of 1 inch, and finished face interior. Oops. And you could have that perfectly as I have it right now. You see how the gypsum board is outside, and I'm respecting the column. But it could be that you're drawing it in the opposite way, so you press spacebar, and that's the way to change the layering organization. Okay. So if I do one, before placing that, I'm going to Control C and make it again. Again, you can go here, right click, create similar, rectangle, 1 inch, and finish face interior. Before I do anything, I should make sure that I'm going from the 5th floor that I am to the 6th floor. So that's where you check these other two parameters, which is correct. So done and escape. Okay. If we go there, let me turn off this for a second. Here's what I did. Okay. Fifth floor. So why is this good? I think it's good to start creating this type of organization. This is an improper relationship with a column. So it's touching actually the gypsum board, the column itself. So it shouldn't touch. But you start building from that point. For example, you could say, let's extend this element all the way, or actually create one, and start creating this distancing so you can move it. You can trim this, and you can create that offset, drawing lines for a second, LI, that's the shortcut, and you can say 3 spacebar 10 if I remember well. Let me see, 3 6 actually. Delete that. LI 3 spacebar 6, and I'm going to create a 2-hour rating because the corridor probably needs a 2-hour rating there. So say create similar. You start drawing probably from the exterior. There you go. You can create a big one for now. Extend it. You could even eliminate that one and just start dragging this up so it matches that point. So be careful. You see how it starts thinking? Is that most probably I moved the floor so that when you select nothing and it starts thinking, every time that happens is that you have moved something. So go back into that Control C so you make sure the floor is not being moved. Okay. So now you can just start pressing Control, selecting, and CO to start building your partitions. You could move these ones a little more depending on what you need. You could create more of these now by selecting create similar. I could select the 1-hour rating to make divisions between the different labs. I could select these elements and CO for copying, going from the grid up to the grid, and bring these guys down into the wall properly, and then extend this element. As you can see, the second you extend it, it matches properly. So this one, oops, You can associate it closer to the column so you don't use as much space. You can use the align AL and say to this exterior face, take that one. So it starts aligning there. And this is a clean layout versus a dirty one here. We will see that later on we're going to have a furniture piece. So this extension is going to be related to the furniture on next class. I'm just going to keep it there for now. And you can copy several of these elements and multiple to start thinking of how this starts being repeated long. We need a couple of doors, so you say doors. If we don't have the doors that we want, I think I'm asking here for a double asymmetrical. So you load families and you go to doors. And what you can do is just scroll and control at the same time and search for that door that we're searching for. Let's see what it is. Uneven, I think it is. And you locate either one door, normally the opening, the sweeping of the door, that's why it's kind of not invading the corridor. You could have actually one of these partitions in the middle. For that you can create a couple lines from this point to that point exactly, and then copy CO from the center to the midpoint, and this could go to the end, for example. Delete that line, and then in that sense you can do a mirror, which is selecting this guy MM, or you select the middle here and you will have that element. As you can see, then you can just delete the elements here and mirror MM, select the center, so it comes to the same place. TR for trimming. So these are tools that all are here under the modify tool. So you can start having either one bay that is called, or two bays, sometimes three bays or four altogether, to have flexibility in the programmatic quality of the project. From this point is a lot about repeating and copying, and keep on working with the partitions as you go. So I'm going to say create similar. Just going to do the stair area, rectangle. Just make sure there's 1 inch interior. I don't think. Huh. Okay, let's say it's interior. There we go. I'm going to tab there, select CO, copy this one here, CO, and I'm going to copy this one here, delete this element. It gives you a mistake whenever one thing is inside of another, so you can start dragging these ones a little bit more. Control, CO, take this one up there, and start expanding this, create similar. You could have one here or not, you could just close it there for now. 2-hour rating. You say obviously this is not working, so there's a lot of like alignment to do, and I think in that sense the AL tool, which is again this tool, allows you to start shifting things properly. Be careful, sometimes it shifts the whole thing, so you have to do an alignment again. Oops. So that's a little bit cleaner. Sometimes you have to delete parts because the whole stair around it has to be a 2-hour rating. So you can delete parts and trim TR to have those connected. So you can have that clean. You could even start organizing this so they snap to this other one, so you have a furniture area. Anyway, layout I think is quite explanatory. You can continue this one up, Control CO, take it to the grid, take this one, continue that one further up, and moving on, no? You can copy the doors with no problem from grid to grid. You could have another door. If you're trying to copy this, it's sometimes difficult. You have to actually copy first and then select the door and say pick new host. Pick new host allows you to select another wall and somehow like that way. It's very simple. And take this one there. You could have like a meeting room here once you enter, and then the stairs going to be in this space, which is the next step.